Thank you so much, Pastor Cooper. It's an honor to be here in this church with you guys today. I told Pastor Cooper the first SNL service that I came, I was sitting here in the row, and there was just something about it. I just was like, man, this is a really good idea. And so in the nature of encouragement, I just want to encourage you all who are continuing to come, and praise team, that's a real, that's a task, being on the praise team. It's not just get up here and sing, there's so much that goes into it. And so I just want you guys to know, it doesn't go unnoticed. We know you guys put in a lot of work, and just continue to be faithful doing this, because right now it's just the few of us, but that's okay. We need the word, and then as more people come in, we'll be so soaked and rooted in what we've been hearing here that we're able to then encourage and give to those coming in broken, so if you get at all disappointed, you guys come in and you're like, people aren't coming, they aren't showing up. It's okay, because this is a time of preparation for all of us, and don't respect the process. Be okay with people not being here, because at the end of the day, there's so much God wants to do within us, before we can go forth. And so I just want to encourage you. I want to thank you, Pastor Cooper, for allowing me to come today and share what's on my heart. I pray right now and ask God that everything that I share with you today, that it does come from Him, that nothing is tainted by, my beliefs or experience that don't line up with His word, but that everything that is said to you today speaks directly to that heart that Pastor Cooper was talking about, that's deceitful and wicked beyond all else, so we can root out anything that the enemy has tried to just sneak in there, hide in there. Just bring it to light, Father. Pray right now that you would expose everything that the enemy is trying to cover up, because we know it's the father of lies. We ask all of these things in Jesus' name, amen. And so I'm going to start this message off with something a little fun. It's a story, an old story that you all know, the Three Little Pigs. Do you guys know that story? There's a little spin on this story, though, because when my mom was doing my hair one day when I was 6 years old, she said this just came to her. And when you hear it, you're going to be like, who does this just come to? But I'm going to tell you the story, and I promise you there's a moral. I want you to stick with me, okay? I think you'll really like it. So once upon a time in a rustic village, there was a little red schoolhouse for pigs called Porcupine High School. And as we look in on the classroom, you see the three little pigs: pork chop, ham bone, and bacon. And as you listen in, you hear the teacher, Mrs. Chitlin, and she's saying, all right, little piggies, now when the wolf bell squeals 3 times, you're going to hide under your desk, pull down your flap, and pull out your anti-wolf spray. Well, pork chop, that was the first little piggy. He wasn't listening to anything that Miss Chitlin was saying. He was too busy writing Miss Piggy a love letter, telling her all he had to do was make a few more runs, and he was going to take her to the finest slop house in town. Now, ham bone, that was the second little piggy. He was kind of listening to Miss Chitlin, but at the end of the day, he felt like she was just making much too much of this big bad wolf. Now, bacon, that's the third little piggy. Not only was he listening to Miss Chitlin, but he was taking notes. He was writing down the strengths and the weakness of the big bad wolf. So it's graduation day, okay? The 3 little pigs looking sharp. And the parents say, okay, little piggies, it's time for you to go out and build your own house. So pork chop, first little piggy, he says, I want my house to be cool. I want it to be light and breezy. I'm going to build my house out of straw. So Hambone says, well, I want my house to be light and breezy too, but just in case Miss Chitlin was right about the big bad wolf, I'm going to make my house out of sticks. Now, Bacon said, well, I want my house to be big too. I want it to be cold in the summer and warm in the winter. I want it to be able to withstand all of the attacks of the enemy. I'm going to build my house out of brick. Well, 3 days later, Pork Chop was finished with his house. He sent out invitations to all the piggies in the land to come to his housewarming party. So on the way to the party, they had to pass Hambone's house. They're like, come on, Hambone, what you doing? You gonna miss the party? He said, man, I want to come to the party, but it takes time putting nails in all this wood. They said, man, just stack the wood on top of each other. And he said, that's a good idea. So he stacked all the wood on top of each other, went in the house, put on his jeans, his t-shirt, some chucks, and went on to the party. Well, in order to get to Pork Chop's house, you had to pass Bacon's house. And the piggies walking down the street, they like, there go Bacon. Oh, serious Bacon? You ain't gonna have no fun, Bacon. Little piggy said, watch this. Hey, Bacon, man, come on. By the time you finish putting up them bricks, all these sweet little piggies gonna be turned to hogs. You better come on to the party. And as they're walking away, Bacon is conflicted. He wants to go to the party. But at the end of the day, he remembered what Miss Chitlin said about the big bad wolf, and he went back to putting up one brick at a time. So in order to get to Pork Chop's house, you got to go up this hill. So you get to the top of the hill, and you see his house in the valley, and it was exactly what he described. It was big, it was light, it was breezy. You see balloons on the rooftop, and you can hear his favorite group, Ribs, rapping. Now, I'm going to need y'all to put your hands together. Clap. Clap. All right, I'm going to tell you what Ribs was saying. Now, you can be afraid of the big bad wolf, or you can come and dance upon my roof, because I ain't scared of no boogeyman. You can come and get me if you can. I said rib rap. Rib rap. Come on and rib rap. Rib rap. Now, I'm the captain of my ship and the master of my fate. I tell you just how great I am, but I'll be late for my date. No one tells me what to do, what to think or say. And anything gets done, my friends, gonna be done my way. Now let me tell you now, you can be afraid of the big bad wolf, or you can come and dance upon my roof, cause I ain't scared of no boogeyman. You can come and get me if you can. I said rib rap. Rib rap, come on, rib rap, rib rap. I promise you my mother wrote this. This is out of control, right? Okay. So the pigs partied all night long. 2 weeks later, Pork Chop is asleep in his bed, and he hears a loud knock on the door. Open up, little piggy, or I'm gonna huff and puff and blow your house down. Pork Chop jumped out the bed, bolted down the hall, leaned up against the door. He heard that wolf take a big breath. He closed his eyes. He opened his eyes. He was standing in the middle of a field, straw everywhere. That wolf tapped him on the shoulder. He said, I'm going to eat you up, little piggy. So he took off to Hambone's house, ran in the door. They both leaned up against the door. They heard the wolf take a big breath. When they opened their eyes, they were standing in the middle of a field, toothpicks everywhere. That wolf showed his teeth and said, I'm going to eat y'all up, little piggies. Then they took off to, whose house did they take off to? Bacon's house. You ain't going to have no fun, Bacon. Well, they were knocking on Bacon's door because he had locked the door. He finally opened the door and they said, it's him. He said, it's who? They said, it's the big bad wolf. He said, man, don't worry about here. Come in, let me make you some breakfast. Now, you know the story. The big bad wolf huffed and puffed and could not blow Bacon's house down. So he climbed up on the roof, went down the chimney, but Bacon had put on a big pot of hot water, and those pigs had wolf gumbo for 3 days. The end. So while that story is fun, it's a kid's story, I like to tell it because here's the moral. Many of us are like Pork Chop and Hambone. We don't really take the wolf seriously and sometimes altogether doubt his very existence. Few of us are like Bacon, taking down the strengths and the weaknesses and making preparation for when the enemy will come. And let me assure you, the enemy is not just coming, he's already here. So the topic of this message today, do you know the shepherd? Do you know the shepherd? That's what we're talking about today. And I'm taking it from John 10, 1 through 10. And you don't have to go there with me because I'm just going to read it to you. It says, I tell you the truth. Anyone who sneaks over the wall of a sheepfold, rather than going through the gate, must surely be a thief and a robber. But the one who enters through the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep recognize his voice and come to him. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. After he has gathered his own flock, he walks ahead of him, And they follow him because they know his voice. They won't follow a stranger. They will run from him because they don't know his voice. Those who heard Jesus use this as illustration didn't understand what he meant, so he explained it to them. I tell you the truth. I am the gate for the sheep. All who came before me, were thieves and robbers. But the true sheep did not listen to them. Yes, I am the gate. Those who come in through me will be saved. They will come and go freely and will find good pasture. The thief's purpose is to steal and kill and destroy. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. Do you know the shepherd today? Do you know the shepherd? It says in John 10:5, the sheep know his voice. They won't follow a stranger. They will run from him because they don't know his voice. Do you know the shepherd's voice, or have you been carried off by the thoughts that you've constructed in your own head based on experiences that were bad for you? So you're off thinking other things and doing other things, strange things, because of those experiences. Do you know the shepherd? So the thief's purpose is to steal, kill, and destroy. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. I became really, really intrigued with sheep. I was like, all this talk about sheep, they know his voice. And as far as I know and have ever been really told, sheep are stupid. Like, they're dumb. They're just like, bah, and they're just like, just going along their way, just like not really knowing what to do. And it's like you bump them, they're like, bah. You bump them, they're like, bah. I was like, I want to look up. So, of course, I type in, like, why are sheep so dumb, in Google. And a lot of different things came up. And one of the things that came up was a video of a wolf attacking a flock of sheep. And I want to talk to you about this video because it really is the reason why I believe God gave this message to me. Now, what you see is the sheep traveling on this mountain, and you see them traveling with their shepherd and with the dogs that were raised with these sheep. And they're going about their way, and you can tell that they're getting ready to take a rest. So the sheep are being herded into like this sheep pen, and you see the shepherd go off, and you see the dogs go off. And at the same time, you see wolves coming down the other side of the hill. And they get a little bit closer, and you begin to hear the bleating is very different from the sheep's. Like they're beginning to panic because they sense that something dangerous is coming near them. And so, like I said, the dogs and the shepherds go off at the same time. And I just want to stop right here, and it's really just a sidebar. Have you ever had those moments with God where you just felt like, man, me and God are cool? Like we're walking, everything feels great. Like, whoo, you whistling, walking down the street. You just know there's a light above your head. And then there's those moments when you feel completely without him. And so again, I just want to encourage you, the shepherd sometimes does go off to make provision. Remember that he never does actually leave you, but he does go. It says, I go and prepare a place for you. He does go off and prepare a place. We're not always going to have that mountaintop experience Moses had when he came down and he was glowing like gold. Sometimes we're going to be in the valley. But it's okay because we're never alone. Just know God has made preparation. So that's a sidebar. So anyways, you see them go off and you can hear the panic, and the wolves begin to circle the sheep. And what sheep do, what herds do, is they begin to bundle together. They begin to herd together. And while you may be like, what are they doing? Why are they just sitting there? It's actually really smart. They herd together, and what happens is the wolves are circling, and they're looking for a weak point of attack. How can I get in there? Because there's a lot of sheep in there. How can I get in? So they're circling, and the sheep are, you can tell they're getting panicked. They're getting panicked. And just when I thought the sheep were gonna be all right, one runs off and the other runs off. And that's exactly what the wolves want. Let me tell you today what a predator wants. They want you to run. Don't run. So those two run off. One wolf goes after one sheep, one wolf goes after the other, and what they do, they grab the sheep by the neck and they just hold them there. And they literally just hold them. There's not a whole lot of thrashing about. They get them by the neck, and that's it for those sheep. And the other sheep, you can see they're even more panicked because they're watching these other sheep be
killed. But let me tell you this, at the same time that this is going on, the dogs are coming. So the dogs heard the sheep. They heard their distress, and they were on the mountain, but they began to come. So while these sheep are running off and being killed, the dogs are on their way. And so the first thing that I want to say, and what I just said before, do not run. Do not run. As it says, the enemy tries to steal. He will try to steal your peace. He'll try to unsettle you. He will try to take your security away from you. When you're in the face of the enemy, you feel nervous, you feel scared, and you start to run to things that are comfortable to you. You may run to friends. You may run to money. You may run to drinking. You may run to drugs. You may run to pornography. I mean, there's so many different things that make you just feel comfortable. You run to those things. Do not run. That is what the enemy wants you to do. When you run, when you are away from the herd, he will pick you off. Second point is stay in the fold. Stay in the fold. The enemy wants to kill your belief in what God has told you about himself. He makes you question your faith. Faith makes you wonder if the word is true. And the ones who begin to waver end up on the perimeter, more exposed. The ones who ran, they were on the perimeter. They were nervous. The wolves were staring them in the face, and they just thought, if I stand here any longer, I am going to get attacked. And so they ran. Stay in the fold. When you feel yourself out there on the perimeter, kind of trying to figure out what you want to do within the church and then kind of doing other things that are not within the church, you are more of a prey and a target for the enemy. You are like that second string. He's getting the ones who are running, and then you're next. You're exposed. So stay in the fold. When you feel this way, when you feel this doubt, when you begin to rationalize in your own mind, pray. My dad used to tell me this all the time. The enemy will flood you with 1,000 truths to float one lie. See, he's crafty. He's not going to just lie. He's going to tell you stuff about yourself that's true. He's going to say, man, your parents left you behind. True story. Nobody else was there for you. True story. You're better off dead. But it's logical, right? You're alone. Nobody cares about you. You're better off dead. But that is the one lie that he will float after he floods you with all of those truths. You have to be aware of the enemy and how he's crafty. Now, remember I told you the dogs are coming? You remember I said that, right? In all of this, the dogs are coming. So the third point is to stand firm. After you don't run and you stay in the fold, you have to stand firm in your position. The enemy wants to destroy all hope of rescue. So he wants to steal your security. He wants to kill your belief. And he wants to destroy all hope of rescue. When the sheep began to herd together, the wolves were trying to find a weak point of attack. If those two sheep had just stayed, maybe it would have been long enough for the dogs to get there. Maybe they never would have lost their lives if they had just waited, because the wolves were still trying to find the weakness. Stand firm. Ephesians 6:10 says, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers in the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Your boss is not your enemy. Your friend is not your enemy. That person you're driving next to, not your enemy. Your parents, not your enemy. Your kids are not your enemy, even though sometimes they seem like it. Our enemy is not flesh and blood. Don't you know that if the devil just walked up to you today and said, hey, I'm the devil and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to destroy your marriage and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell you that your husband is cheating even though he's not. He's not going to do that. He's not going to come to you and tell you what he's doing. He's going to use the people around you who love you, and then he's going to isolate you, expose you, and make you run. Stand firm. So I have to tell you the end of the story. I have to tell you what happened. So these other sheep are sitting here, and they do feel like all hope is lost. But the dogs come in, and when I tell you that those dogs tore those wolves up, they did not stand a chance. It was like there was trumpets going off. I mean, the dogs, and this is the cool thing about the dogs that are with the herds. Most of the time, those dogs are born with those sheep. They grow up with those sheep. So they protect them as if they are their own children. Remember when I told you, even when it feels like God has gone off, he makes provision for you. He's made provision for each and every one of us. So we cannot run. We have to stay connected. And then we have to stand firm. It says that we're going to have tribulation in this life. We're not going to not have problems. There are not going to be situations that make us feel like God has left us. It's going to happen. It just will. That's how this life is. But if we stay in his word, if we stay connected to each other, then when those things happen, we'll bond together, pray, seek God, and receive the things that he has for us so that we can trust him. Because to know God is to trust God. When you know God, you trust him. And if you feel like you don't trust God right now, that just means that you don't know him. And that's okay. Because there's so many facets of his personality that need to be known. And in different experiences, he will reveal those different facets of his personality. But when you feel like, I just can't trust you, God, this happened. And then this happened. And then this happened. How can I trust you? How do I even know if you're there, if you're listening? He says, just know me. Know me. I know there's been situations in your life when you prayed and you asked God and you saw him show up in a very mighty way. And there's no explanation for it. You know it was him. Those are the moments where you know him more. And those are the moments you go back to when you want to run. When you feel like you want to come away from the fold because the people in the church just don't get you. They don't understand you. They don't know what you're going through. You have to stand firm. So again, the topic today is, do you know the shepherd? And if you feel like today, you know what? After this, I don't really know if I know the shepherd. It's okay. That's why you're here. And you can still get to know him. Not too much life has passed. You haven't done too many things wrong. You might even right now in this moment, before you came here, we're doing wrong. You know you're wrong. It's okay. You can get to know him still. And he will change your life. And once you know the shepherd, you will never be the same. You will never follow a stranger. You will just follow him. So that is what I have for you guys today.